This one surprised a lot of fans. House of Dragon isn't going on indefinitely. It's officially set to end with season 4. For a show this big, this successful, and this central to HBO fantasy future, that raises a real question about why they're choosing to stop here and whether that's actually a good thing. Because in a world where shows either get dragged out too long or canceled too early, choosing an ending on your own terms might be the boldest move of them all.
I'm not entertained.
All right, so here's the important context. House of Dragon isn't ending because of low ratings or lack of interest. It's ending because the story it's telling has a defined arc. From the start, this series was designed to cover a certain chapter in Westeros history, not stretch itself across endless seasons. HBO and the creators have been clear that they want to tell the full story cleanly. No filler, no unnecessary extensions, just focus on beginning, middle, and end. And after everything fans have seen happen when the show overstayed their welcome, that approach hits very differently than it would have a decade ago. So let's hear it from you. Jump into the comments. Would you rather House of Dragons end strong with a planned season 4 or keep going longer even if it risks dragging the story out? Type in strong or keep going in the comments down below.
Yeah, so showrunner Ryan Condell has publicly confirmed that House of Dragon will conclude with season 4. Condell stated explicitly that writing is underway and that the creative team is building toward a definitive ending in season 4, unlike Game of Thrones. Multiple entertainment news outlets report that the same thing for season 4 is intended as the series' final chapter. This aligns with early reporting that the show was planned to span a set number of seasons to adapt the war known as Dance of the Dragons from George R.R. Martin's Fire and Blood. The timeline and renewals of the upcoming season 3 has been filmed and is scheduled for release in summer of 26. Season 4 was officially renewed and is slated to premiere around 28 as part of HBO's programming slate. This means the show is pacing itself with multi-year gaps between seasons, typical for big fantasy productions. Why is the season ending at 4? Well, mainly due for creative and source material. The House of Dragon story draws from Fire and Blood, a single historical novel covering the Targaryen civil war over decades. According to Fire and Blood, the Dance of the Dragons has a clear beginning, middle, and end, as my cousin was stating, meaning the narrative has a natural finite arc rather than spanning one like Game of Thrones was. Mixed fans' responses is a number of viewers feel that ending after only 4 seasons doesn't make sense, given how much story remains, especially since Dance of Dragons includes numerous major conflicts and dramatic events. Some fear that the condensing of the remaining story into 2 more seasons will lead to rush pacing, reminiscent of fan frustration with how Game of Thrones ended. Alternate perspectives see the clear season limit as a strength. It could help to show and avoid, the pacing and story compression issues that plagued Game of Thrones' final season by structuring its conclusion in advance. The broader strategy by HBO, even though House of Dragons is ending, it is to expand the borders of Game of Thrones universe with new and more compelling spin-offs, i.e. like A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, based on the tales of Dunk and Egg, is set to premiere very soon. By the time of this recording, that should have already came out, I believe. HBO's programming strategy appears to be shifting from one long tentpole series to a multi-series universe with interconnected stories set across different time periods of the Westeros history. Bottom line, the highly successful Game of Thrones prequel will conclude with a 4th season encompassing a core Targaryen storyline from the Civil War, with a decision to blend creative intention to tell a complete story on its own. Me personally, I think 4 is enough. Everyone has their qualms, their issues with how Game of Thrones ended, how the show was going once they went off on their own and couldn't go out the books, which is hugely George R.R. Martin's fault because he had ample time to get them books done from the seasons, and no one wants to see this drawn out. And then me and my cousin, we talked about this off screen. We already know what the fuck is going to happen. I mean, it's a prequel. You know what it leads up to. Now, I'll say this. I do like how they're focusing it more in a concise format rather than constantly just drawing all this stuff out. We don't need that. And then in today's times with everyone penny pitching, I can totally understand that. And as we reported on before, there are more prequels, side stories, and everything else that they're planning to do with this series. You have House of the Dragon, you have the Night and the Seven Kingdoms, and I believe there's 2 more other shows that they plan to work on and do. So, hey, let it in. Everything don't need to last forever. I'm looking at you, Grey's Anatomy. Trace, do you have any interest at all? Do you
Definitely
have
looking
any
at you,
interest?
Grey's Anatomy. God damn, Lord
Yeah.
Jesus. Oh,
Trace, do
that
you have
triggered
any
me.
interest in any of this stuff past Game
Absolutely.
of Thrones? Or you're just like, hey, I had enough. You experienced what you experienced and you've moved on past this universe.
Yeah, I absolutely. I am not anything that's coming out of Game of Thrones. It's just not going to get me to a TV screen. All because if that motherfucker don't finish some books, I'm not watching none of this bullshit. And let me reframe. House of Dragon has been received well by the viewers. Even my family watches it. So let me not call it bullshit. I'm just not going to watch anything else from this franchise until he finishes that book. And if he never finished that book, then I'll never watch another Game of Thrones show. I was just so captivated and I don't know what's the right word, but emotionally and physically invested in Game of Thrones, and for it to end the way it ended and completely just go off the rails in the last season, I do blame George for not finishing the book and giving them set things for the source material. And so that's why I be having these little protests in my head. I am in a silent protest for anything that's from the Game of Thrones franchise to not watch unless he writes the book. But yeah, so that's where I stand. I've watched stuff from social media about this. That's why I know some of the things I know about the show because it was against my will. But listen, yeah, I'm not watching anything from Game of Thrones. I know they got a new show that's I think it already aired, like you said, or if not, it's nearing. I'm not watching nothing else from, and I know a lot of people that share that sentiment after they watched the Game of Thrones. And the Game of Thrones was told over years, so you just think about all the years we invested it, and then for it to end so stupidly. Listen, I'm not here to trigger anybody, but I'm cool. I'm cool on everything Game of Thrones. I hope it do success. I'm not saying I don't want to be successful. I'm just saying I will not be watching it unless George finished the motherfucking books. Yeah, that's where I stand with the franchise.
That's understandable, and I definitely can agree upon that. Me personally, I know from the reading on this last time, there's two more prequels in line and one sequel show. And I'm just gonna say this before you all bring more disdain towards this universe by
But see,
overplaying it.
it's a major show. It probably generates a lot of viewers and it generates a lot of money. So I can understand why HBO don't want the franchise to die. Cause I mean, this could be something that lasts like Star Wars and shit. But I'm not going to get. They're not going to get my eyeballs. I'm just
And
saying
see,
that.
it's funny you say that because that's what I was going to get to. I can see how they're wanting to tell different stories from different perspectives because just like Star Wars, you have such a lore rich universe. You can do
Mm-hmm.
that. Me personally, the only prequel I would really want to see is something they hinted on and talked on so much in the show. It's 2 things: the rebellion that Robert Baratheon started, that which led to the war, and him killing the king and how he became king. I would like to see that, and them taking it back to the beginning, the true ultimate beginning of the White Walkers, the wall going up. That those 2 things they were constantly talked about and hinted at, and then right when you would be like, okay, all right, you're gonna delve more into it. It'll be a change of scene. Someone started, getting intimate, or someone got unalived, and it's like, oh, okay, we're just gonna leave that there. Other than that, I'm okay. I have similar sentiments you do with, bro, you gonna finish these books? It has been years. I think season 1 of Game of Thrones was 2011, and he was already multiple books deep, and it took 8 years for the season 8 to come out. What are you doing? What are you doing? That's just how I feel. There could be other people who are like, hey, with all his success, he don't need to finish the books. That's bullshit. But
Yeah, nah,
that's just my
you ain't selling me on that. But let us know in the
yeah,
comments
you ain't
below how
selling me
you
on that. But
feel.
hey, like my cousin say, let us know in the comments. Are you feeling the same way we are? Do you say, hey man, fuck this shit? I want the deeper, longer, hardcore narrative of the books and of this world he set up. Or you're like, hey, I'm enjoying the shows. My nice fantasy TV show, watched out with the family, etc. Let us know. And that's it for this video of Are You Not Entertained podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell so you'll never miss our next hot take. Until next time, are you not entertained?